Hola amigas, ¿cómo están? Les saluda Hesy Landesbaum, fundadora de Hablando entre Mujeres USA, dándoles la bienvenida a otro martes de podcast, La Mujer, sus finanzas y más. Y en esta ocasión tenemos a una joven mexicoamericana. Ella terminó sus estudios hace poco tiempo y vamos a platicar acerca de ella, su historia y cuál es el impacto que está teniendo en la comunidad, no solamente latina, pero también de otras comunidades. Entonces, para efectos de comodidad de nuestra invitada, vamos a hacer esta plática en inglés. Entonces, I want to welcome Ariadne Cortez. She's actually a project manager in CARC, New Jersey. That's an association that is in charge of the empowerment of communities in the area of New Jersey. So with that being said, welcome Ariadne. Thank you for being here.
Hi, thank you, Hesy, for having me. Thank you a todas las mujeres de Hablando entre Mujeres USA. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm excited for what we're going to be talking about.
That's awesome, Ariadne. Basically, as you know, La Mujer, sus finanzas y más, this podcast is dedicated to empower the Latin American woman to take action and make financial decisions early in their life. Why? Because that's so important that we are prepared, financially prepared. And obviously, I would like to know your perspective about this topic, how important it is for not only Latinos, but all the communities to take action early so you can have that certainty that you are going to be okay in terms of economic power. How are you going to go to college? How are you going to be when you're 65 years old? An emergency, right? A lot of people, they don't have an emergency fund. So if you could please start telling us a little bit about your story.
Sure. I am the eldest daughter of four. My mom was a single mother growing up. I saw how much she struggled with finances, and that pushed me really hard to make sure I got an education. I went to school so that I could provide for her. Unfortunately, she was diagnosed with cancer this past year.
I'm so sorry.
Thank you. She's not here with us anymore, but through the whole process, the medical process, the financial process, I have three younger siblings. I'm now in charge of them. So it is opening to see how mothers handle their finances, because mothers are like the backbone of the family. And it's difficult now. There's so many things you don't think about with children and how they need it. So I'm so excited to be here just because I like to share and talk about my perspective as a young person, because I'm only 24, so I'm still new to this, but I'm very excited to keep learning and help empower other women to get to where they can be, because there's so much, I think, as a Latina woman, young, that we can do and that we need to do just so we can grow.
Absolutely. And first of all, I want to really recognize you because taking such a big responsibility at 24 years old, and basically you're being a mother of your siblings, and obviously a lot of challenges, right? Mm-hmm. So one of the biggest things that I think, and that comes to my mind right now, is how do you manage the emotional situation with your family, losing your mom?
It's been difficult. It's not been 3 months yet, and I still feel it heavy in my heart. I have to see a counselor. I've gotten my siblings involved in sports like jiu-jitsu, wrestling. My sister, I told her to start working to provide some type of schedule for them, because it is so difficult, knowing you had this one person who loved you unconditionally, and to know she's not here anymore is so, sometimes one can wonder, how can I keep going in this world? So it's a mental challenge every day, getting up, recognizing that she's not here anymore, and trying to process those feelings and make it through another day and keep going. I think taking it one day at a time is my best advice. So just one day at a time, taking a break when you need it, taking a deep breath, anything that helps you feel better That's what I would say. Because it's just mentally, it's a lot. And we need to take care of ourselves. And if we don't, then we're going to get more stressed, more sick. And I wouldn't want anyone else to go through that. So.
Absolutely. And I really commend you because obviously you're being a huge role model for your brothers and sisters to go through this difficult situation. And thank you for sharing that, for trusting us to share this and Hablando entre Mujeres. I really appreciate that. And moving forward, is this something that really moved you to give others? Or why did you decide to become a project manager? How was that transition?
Yes. So I graduated from my university in 2020 in the middle of the pandemic, and I was interning at the agency Clark. So then when it happened, they were like, it was April, I hadn't graduated yet, and they asked, do you need a job? We're hiring people. And I said, sure. So I started as a case manager, seeing people, talking to people, having work hours from like 7 in the morning to 8 p.m. because during the pandemic, it was crazy. But after that, we grew. I worked with the census, helping make sure, especially the Hispanic community was counted. Not a lot of the Hispanic community knows what the census is or how it can help future policies, future government, people in office. So that was a big part of my job. And then moving on, I was able to become the project manager for a utility assistance program, which helps people with utilities and making a more equitable life, I want to say, because it helps even out payments. Life is very expensive, unfortunately. So I got there, and now we're implementing new programs. I'm helping implement new programs into the agency, helping with grants. I want to say my supervisors are teaching me a lot, and I'm learning a lot, which is great. We're all Hispanic women. So it's really great to see that they give me that hand, or they are always willing to be sharing their table with me, because I think that means a lot. It means a lot.
And since you are actually serving the Hispanic Latino community, can you share with us some of the challenges that you face day to day having these conversations with women in terms of their financial situation?
Yes. The biggest comments I get, I have to ask my husband, or I have to ask my dad, I have to ask my brother, because most of the time they're not even in charge of their own financial situation. They give their checks directly to the man in the household, to whoever is in charge, which is never them. And it's unfortunate to see that, because we have every day there's a woman that comes in. I can't do this because I don't have money. My husband's in charge of the money. And it's even the smallest things, like even going out to an activity with us. Like, I don't have money to go. So we see this like financial abuse every day. It's very typical, unfortunately, in a Hispanic household. And I would like to see something change.
Yeah, and to your point, Ariadne, actually that has a name, and it's called financial violence. But a lot of women, they have no idea that something like that it's out there. And clearly it is the position of power from one to another about money, or they don't give you money, or they give you, they're asking you constantly, how are you spending it? Or sometimes there is enough money, but they pretend that there's no money, so they won't give you anything. And that's why here in Hablando entre Mujeres, we always recommend for women to actually have ownership of their own economy and budget. Because one thing is the family, budget, but we should have also our own money, as well as your husband and your partner to have their own money. Because if you want to start any project, if you want to start any business, if you want to start something, you have that decision. You're empowered to do something that you want to do, maybe taking a class, starting a business, or go to school again, etc. And like that, you won't necessarily impact the family budget, so it will be okay. And that's why talking about an emergency fund in families, clearly with the pandemic, we realized how bad it is out there, or how bad it was, because people, they had no savings, no cushion. So overnight, they lost their job and they couldn't really put food on the table. So personally, I always advise to my clients to have 12 months of an emergency fund, 12 months of your annual income. Probably it will take you a few years to get to that number, but it's so crucial and important that everybody thinks about worst case scenario tomorrow, a rainy day. What, don't you think that?
Yes, I agree. I think so many people came to us for the first time telling us we don't have any savings, we don't have any emergency funds. And that's because they live paycheck to paycheck. Or they don't realize how important an emergency fund is, because we saw it, like you said, happen in this pandemic. And I think it's just, living prices are going up. Everything is going up. And people need to know about this. And unfortunately, they don't. And it's because they don't know. Sometimes there aren't those resources that are provided to them to be able to get to that point, to be sustainable. So we need to be able to get that word out to them and provide these resources, get into those communities and let them know that this is here for you, this is what's going to help you. So just like that, we need that education, we need that empowerment to be able to get to these people. And especially since they are Hispanic, we have to be like one-on-one with them, telling them like, we're not telling you what to do, but this is for your own good. You have to be better. You have to do better for yourself and for your future generations.
And also recently I gave a presentation about the impact of financial wellness. So as you know, when the economic piece in any household is not in good standing, unfortunately, that will create sometimes depression, fights, husband and wife, and not to mention that some people that actually committed suicide because they just couldn't face all the economic problems. And if you don't feel good, you won't feel like working out, you won't feel like, so definitely the mental piece is linked to our financial situation. So what can we do about it? And that's why we here always invite people to raise their hand and ask for help. I want to learn this. I want to save, but I don't know how to manage my money. And actually in that presentation, I talk about budget. How do you create a budget? As simple as it is. 50%, obviously, to your expenses, 30% to the things that you wish to have, things that are negotiable, like going out with friends, concert tickets that are not that, economic. And also 20% has to be like, it's a must to save money for your retirement plan, for your kids' education, and actually to pay off your debt. Because also sometimes, people are just in debt that they don't see the light, they don't know how to get out of there. And that's some of the topics that are affecting, any household.
Yes, I work with a lot of youth and they're going into college or they're graduating college, and we're starting to get that, we have to start paying back our loans, and we have to start paying back this year, actually December, to start paying back that loan. So for me, this is a whole new experience that I'll be going through too, because I have college debt. Most people who graduate from college will have college debt, and it's trying to figure out how to manage that. Plus you're already the expenses that you're currently having. So I think it's also important to start getting this education out to them young, because many times we learn from our parents. We see what our parents do and we copy that. So we need to make sure those parents are informed, and that these children, these youth going into the world are informed about budgeting and making sure they have that emergency fund.
Yes, and also give the message about share with your kids, even if they're young, because they're very smart and they know what's going on, just to share with them the cost of living. And sometimes I get pushed from parents because they say, no, I don't think it's good to share, the money situation with my kids. I don't know if it is appropriate, but honestly, I think that it's a family. It's a household, so they should know the cost of living. And I always say they should know how much is a gallon of milk. They should know all these things because they're going to have this perspective of, number one, appreciation. Number two, it's going to help them to be responsible when it comes to spending their income. When they grow up and they have their own family, they're going to be more organized. But those habits, you develop them when you're actually young in your home. When you go to school and you don't waste food and all these things that are so important.
Yes. And we're not taught that, unfortunately. I think my first experience was going to college, living away from my parents. And I was like, I did not know how expensive everything was. And it's like, you realize like, oh, how do they do this? And you realize then that they don't have an effective way to manage their money. So it's like, okay, how can I learn to better myself so that I can start a healthy habit? So it's just, I feel like the education piece is so important and making sure they know like what is available to them.
Yes, and clearly, we do what we see at home. And, our parents or our grandparents, they weren't, aware of how important it is to have a will, your budget, your money situation. And there is also this misconception about only, wealthy people, they have to do that, but it doesn't matter how much money you have in your bank account. The matter is that you need to be prepared in case something happens, because I think with the pandemic, we learned that life is today, now, because we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow.
Yes. And I think a big thing I see happening, I don't know if it happens in other cultures, but in the Mexican community, I see something, they do tandas, which they might think is like an effective way of saving money, putting in money. But in the end, it's not really beneficial. But you see it every day. My dad is in una tanda, my brother is in a tanda. And I'm like, that's not going to help you. I think in the end, you're not very investing it wisely. So like trying to get even that small thing, because it's so normalized. So how do we, like, I ask myself, how can I let them know that that's not effective?
Yeah, there are other options, because clearly that's a very, informal way of. But I also learn from clients that it's very risky, because everybody gives money and then number one of the tanda, bye-bye, and then everybody lost their money. And they don't really give you any, interest or anything that you can actually take advantage of. So, and that's why financial education is so important for everybody, not only, the Hispanic community, Latinos, any community should be aware of how the system works in this country, because it's not only available to certain circles, everybody has access to learn how it works, how to manage my money, how to grow it, how to preserve it, how to transfer it to the other generations. But it's just lack of information. That's what it is.
Yes, I agree. And I meet so many women on a daily basis, so many, whether it's girls who are just going into college, whether it's moms who are trying to figure out how they can provide enough to take care of their children. There's too many women, too many who are stuck in this state of not having enough, of relying on other people to provide for them. And we need to make sure they're self-sufficient, because that's the only way we're going to grow. Latinos are going to become the majority in the United States soon. So for us to lead effectively, we need to get the basics down, I think. And like you said, it's just, we need to provide these resources to them. And having more women come, like you, provide these kind of talks, that's great, because people need to know.
Thank you. Yes, absolutely. And when it comes to progress, I always say, if you want economic progress, we need to talk about money. We need to have sometimes uncomfortable conversations, because I found out that some people think that, that's like maleducación, or you don't talk about those topics. But we need to, and I always tell them that other communities, they actually talk about this just like nothing. They say, oh yeah, I started this business and I make this, income, and I lost this, I had a loss, I cut my losses, or whatever the case might be. So we need to really, I think, open up to the options that we have and share more. But about sharing, just to the last topic, women, we are givers by nature. We love giving to everybody, but sometimes we forget about ourselves. Yes. So there's got to be a balance of how much you can give to your loved ones or your community, because sometimes you just forget about you. So what's your opinion about that?
I think it's very true. With my siblings that I'm now taking care of, I realize how much I want to give to them, but how much I'm actually able to give to them, and I think that's okay, because we need to understand our limits. We need to understand that we can take care of them with what we have, and we don't need to, like los quinceaños, las quinceañeras. Those are beautiful, yes, but we can also provide in other ways. And I think we need to take care of ourselves first before we take care of other people. Because if I'm not okay, the entire household will fall. And I can't have that happen. So if I need to limit stuff, I need to learn, because I'm still learning. I think it's all a learning process. But I hope to get there to the point where I'm able to be financially stable to provide what they need and want.
Yeah, I agree. And also how important it is, or it was, for you to speak Spanish at home.
Yes. So when my mom was here, every day we would speak Spanish, because that is her first language. She came here when she was 12, so she went to school here and everything, but still Spanish is, when we speak Spanish, that's home. We're at home when we speak Spanish. And it's so important to know, because going forward in life, in university, I was able to get more opportunities because I spoke Spanish. I worked in a Busca program, helping kids fill out their financial aid, FAFSA, all of that, because I spoke Spanish. And we had a program with a school in the DR. So I was a resident assistant. I was able to help those first gen Spanish speaking students move in, talk to their parents, make them feel comfortable, just because having that tongue, it just makes you feel welcome. You're I'll be okay here. And it's good to have it. I need to practice it myself more. But it's so important to speak both languages more if you can. But Spanish is the best way. Practice your Spanish. We need to practice. I try to speak with my siblings in Spanish because I don't want them to forget it. So it's so important. And I talk to my abuelita in Spanish, all mis tíos, tías. So that's how I've been practicing more. But we need to know both.
Yeah, that's great, because I heard that sometimes the more generations, it's hard to keep it. So I think you're doing a great job talking to your siblings in Spanish. So it is there, and you're able to have other, sorts of opportunity opening for you, which is amazing. So thank you so much for sharing with us, for giving all your perspective about this need of financial education. It's very important for women to take action. And I think you, as a young professional, facing all these challenges that you'll be facing and trying to make yourself better every day and being an example for your siblings, I think that's great. So thank you from Hablando entre Mujeres USA. We would like to have you for the continuation of your career. We would like to know what happens, and definitely the social work that you're doing has a great impact because it's so needed.
Yes. Thank you so much. Hablando entre Mujeres, les quiero dar las gracias por tenerme hoy. I was so happy to be here y poder hablar un poco de mi experiencia, y espero poder estar aquí en futuros eventos o en lo que necesiten. Gracias.
Excelente. Gracias, Ariadne. See you soon.
See you soon. Thank you.
Bye.